everyone, I'm Ishan and welcome to the Race Monkey. What we have over here is the all-new Citroen eC3, the electric C3, which is based on the same platform as the gasoline-powered C3. Now, this one does not have that petrol engine. This is a fully electric car with an electric motor and a battery pack on the bottom. Now, this is a 29.2 kilowatt battery that has been fitted in this car. And it is not liquid cooled. This is an air cooled system, which is a first in the industry. And at this price point, getting an air cooled system is quite a questionable thing, and we will talk to you about it in the longer scheme of things when we take this car out in the real world situations and test it out. Now, this motor is producing 57 horsepower at peak and 143 Newton meters of torque, which is again on paper looking like it is a bit of a compromise over the Tiago EV, which this car might be competing against. Now, this also has about 300 kilos of weight extra over the petrol counterpart, which again puts us into a question of how the performance is going to be. But then Citroen is focusing more on the daily drivability and the long-term usability of the car. There are a lot of things to talk about it in terms of the technical specification, but let me just show you around what all has changed. Just throw this technical specification away. Now, what has changed in this car is absolutely nothing. It's still the same. Nothing has changed in terms of the design. It still has this beautiful bulging front, which also has a bit of this muscle line on the hood, which looks very, very nice. Beautiful, beautiful design elements everywhere. And what differentiates the petrol car to the electric one is this lid over here, which houses the charging box. Now, this color is also different and is new and is specific to this eC3, which is silver in shade and has this white elements on the top. Now, we have little details which do differentiate the electric C3 to the petrol C3, like this e-badging over here, that lid that we talked about earlier, and this eC3 logo at the back as well. And otherwise also, how you will be able to differentiate this car over the electric car is when you get the full green number plate. So you'll know that this is the electric one. So now, the other part that has changed on the eC3 has to do with something on the inside. Now, although the interior remains unchanged and it's still one of the most ergonomic cabins that is available in this segment, the gear lever has gone and it has done away with this flicker style gear selector, which comes directly from the C5 Aircross. It's actually quite premium to use and it has a very nice mechanical click to it. Otherwise, the entire interior remains the same. The seats are the cushiest of the lot and they're very, very comfortable. Plus, the fact that this is an electric car now makes for a fact that this will be even more quiet. Now, another very important addition that is done to the eC3 are these day and night rear view mirrors on the inside, which were missing in the petrol car that we tested about 5 months ago. So, without further ado, let's take this car out on the track and tell you more about it. So the eC3 with its 29.2 kilowatt hour battery and a 57 bhp motor that also produces 143 Nm of torque might sound a little underpowered in terms of the numbers on paper, but it is quite a peppy setup. Now, we are here at the test track and the car is going pretty well, and because it has this magic carpet ride, all thanks to Citroen's patented suspension setups and great mountings, this car's just effortless to drive and it's so quiet. Even when you're trying to push the speeds too hard through the corners, and while you're doing that, just to remind you, this steering is quite heavy and it feels very, very positive. But when you're trying to do speeds, you just don't feel it, and it's such a comforting experience absolutely brilliant. And this also helps lower your pulse rate while you're coming back from office or you're going to your work and your day has been quite stressful. It's just a wonderful, wonderful experience indeed. Now, the interior too is a little minimalistic. You have dials which do not portray too many details. All we have is the gear that has been selected, the speed, the range that we have, and the amount of battery that is left, plus if the car is charging or being consumed of energy. And that sort of makes me less confused as a driver, which is an excellent thing indeed. Now, this C3 is strictly focused on the consumer that will be driving it in the city, going to work from point A to point B in utmost comfort. And mind you, when it comes to comfort, nothing beats a Citroen. And this eC3 does justify that outlook of the company and its products. Now, if we compare this to the Nexon EV, which although is not a direct competitor to this car, but is something that we think to be as a great, comfortable, cheap to buy electric car, this actually outdoes that SUV in terms of the comfort quotient. The suspension is just amazing. Now, we are hitting a very sharp corner at about 80 kilometers an hour. We're slowing down to 70, 72 kilometers an hour. And because of the lower center of gravity, the car just sticks to the ground so well. And remind you, we are running on very, very hard compound tires, which do enhance the overall driving range. But the way this car handles these corners, the body control, added to the silence that you have, it's just brilliant. And you don't hear quite a lot of road noise either. Like the sound insulation from the wheel well also is done in a very well way. It's a properly engineered car for properly intellectual individuals who want good quality motoring from point A to point B without much of the fuss, without much of the hassle of going about those bells and whistles and angels coming out of the glove box serving you orange juice. Brilliant car indeed. And this fingerable gear selector just adds to that premium quotient. Such a wonderful car indeed. Now we'll try launching this eC3 on this track, although it curves a little bit, but that's the beauty of driving an electric car, isn't it? Hard foot on the brakes, hard foot on the accelerator. This does 0 to 60 kilometers an hour in about 6.8 seconds, which is not the quickest, but the way it touches the 100 kilometer an hour mark, it's quite substantial. And the way this just sticks down to the ground, all thanks to the great center of gravity that the eC3 has, it's just brilliant. Just look at the way it just sits on the ground so well. Although we are in a controlled environment, the friction coefficient is quite good on this tarmac, which is the test track for Vapco. But even still, it just drives wonderfully. Going straight, braking down. The brakes are quite progressive indeed. Keeping the braking a little smooth because we don't have too much of a space to go off the track, and this track is quite narrow indeed. But the way it enters the apex and exits it, even with such hard compound tires, is extremely Wonderful indeed. Outer apex. Just look at how progressive the cornering ability on this car is. Inner apex, outer apex exit. You can really have some wild time driving this car around the racetrack.
So the Citroen eC3, a compelling package which will attract quite a lot of young buyers towards itself. Now, as compared to the other cars in its segment, especially the Tiago EV that it directly competes with, this has quite a lot of strong points in its kitty. For one, Citroen has reduced to using very simple colors which are going to be extremely easy to maintain over the longer period of time that the Tiago EV doesn't have. Also, the ride quality is even better than cars 3 times its price, besides it being an extremely silent car as well. So if you are someone who is driving 100 to 150 kilometers on a daily basis, this will be an absolutely relaxing car to live with. It's all upon the price now of how Citroen does it. And if this car is around 10 lakh rupees price bracket, it sure is a winner in the French car maker's kitty. If you like to watch this video, please hit the like button and do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow our Instagram handle for more updates. Thank you for watching. Drive safe.